help me.
Not to help me. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the No Cap Space post-game show. It's with the Italians are taking over. Happy Father's Day.
They've gentrified No Cap Space.
Okay, well, we not the game to do that with. But what a game that was. That was fun. That felt like playoff basketball, honestly. Like the energy of that game, like across the board, like it feels like as much as the public has leaned in on this game, as much as the discourse has leaned in to this game, it feels like the players and the organizations and the fans in the building have leaned into this game. And this genuinely feels like a matchup, a rivalry that is going to be here for years and years to come, which is so exciting for the W. Andrew, general thoughts just on this game, and then we can dive into some more specifics.
A great advertisement for the league, because you knew that there was going to be a lot of people watching this. It is a Sunday morning game, at least in Mountain Time West Coast, early morning game on the East Coast, and everyone was going to pay attention to it. You know, it was Kennedy Carter and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark 2.0, and what we ended up getting was a pretty damn good game of basketball. You know, like we were saying it before we went live, like there wasn't any stupidity that really happened. Like even the Angel Reese foul on Caitlin in the fourth there, it was a flagrant one, but it wasn't an overtly dirty play. It's one of those, it happens in the run of play and you move on. And it very much seemed like that was the case. I can't speak to Twitter, not on it.
So far what I've seen on Twitter has like the people you expect on, you know, to like the Barstool type people, things like that. I saw like one or two of those tweets, but generally speaking, so far, it seems like people are treating it as the basketball play that it was and not doing the most with it. So
and like the difference and the difference this time, it seems, is that it was called the flagrant one in the moment.
Yep.
So like you call it flagrant one right there, and that's it. It's done. Yep. And we move and we continue on. The game itself was great. The fourth quarter atmosphere down the stretch in Gamebridge was great. Caitlin Clark had a phenomenal game.
Yes,
I mean, the best game she's had as a pro. I think I'm ready to not do the Shaq and Kobe comps with them. I think it's Shaq and Penny. I think we're looking at like Magic era Shaq and Penny with these two. And we can dive into the game further. You know, obviously we got time here, but Aliyah Boston's ability to slip off the screens has made the biggest difference to me. Because what we were seeing in the first couple games of the year is she would set the screen and just kind of hang, like she'd fade and wouldn't necessarily roll.
Really, now she's no fluidity to it. And now we're seeing like these past two games, especially like and today was another highlight of it. The connection between Caitlin and Aliyah, like this is what, especially early on in the season, we had discussed a lot on here, was just waiting to see what if you would, for us, at least for me, like I thought it would be something that would just kind of naturally happen, and that just wasn't the case. Like it took a little bit more time into the season than I had anticipated, but now that we're seeing it, and it's making such a major difference for this team.
Well, they're figuring out they figured out how to handle the blitzes, you know, and that was obviously the biggest thing that was going to take them a little bit of time to see if it would work or not, but they figured out the blitzes when they come to Caitlin and try to trap her. Caitlin's done a good job. The thing with her that we're going to watch it more. And, you know, the Wright Thompson piece alluded to it before we hit the NCAA tournament, where there's just kind of games where, or not games, but like plays and possessions where like she'll get frustrated and you can see her almost visibly give up on the play. I would like to see that tamp itself down, but it didn't look nearly as prevalent as it did in past games. But that duo, man, I mean, this is what we thought it would be. This was what the advertisement was at the beginning of the year. And if this is what we're going to get out of them consistently, this is a fringe playoff team. This is a 7 or 8 seed playoff team if they play like this consistently.
Yeah. And I to your point of kind of the attitude, I guess, of the team and everything, today felt like the best that this team had been connected, like across the board. when it comes from like I felt like it's just the little things too. Like it's just the body language of stuff and things like that where it's like they're high-fiving after plays or like I felt like I saw Aliyah and Caitlin like come together after a play or like a point or like Melissa pointed to Caitlin after an assist and maybe I just hadn't been seeing that, but like that today at least it felt like I had seen that more than any other game previously. And like that's when we've had so much focus on kind of the chemistry on this team. Like those are the things that you got to be looking for at this point to kind of see the improvement. And it felt like today we had seen that more than any other game so far. Like the
Reese Hull, like the whole team came over.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, so I guess all it takes is a couple good public statements and right. Everybody jumped out in her defense for it, and I agree with you where we're starting to see like little pieces of the chemistry come together. I really hope there's like a documentary crew that's 30 for 30 following this because my kingdom to figure out what the hell this locker room has talked about in the last week.
Yeah,
because there is I want to say like a happiness among them that just doesn't like it looks lighter.
Like
100% looked significantly lighter among all those players. Like there were moments where they're laughing. There's moments where they're smiling, as you mentioned, like points and when they're getting good feeds into the basket and making shots. Like those are things that did not exist here in the first month of the season. So I would love to know what the discussion was, whatever it was. I'm glad they've had it because they look like a significantly better team. I want more Lexi Hull minutes.
Yes, I wanted to touch on that because she was fantastic today.
Yeah, I'm done with Christy Wallace. That experiment is over for me. And
we saw Lexi was the one in down the stretch for a lot of the time, and like that was.
Are we gonna do the easy thing again?
I am a new W watcher.
Wait on that.
Erica Wheeler making so much. Listen, man. There's a couple contracts across the W that might make you feel like that. But the thing is, I think to Chrissy's side's credit, I think a lot of times, especially in the W, you see players that have those level of contracts stick in their roles because of whether you call it the politics or whatever you want to define it as. And we've seen her obviously now coming off the bench and things like that. And I think I think it's probably just because of the lower dosage of it, frankly. But like I've been enjoying that role a whole lot more for her. But yes, it's one of the tougher contracts across the W. Like
she is a bench spark plug.
Yeah,
she's 33.
That's her max right now. Is that's all you're asking of her? Yeah, and I don't think you should be asking more from her. But the contract doesn't those two things don't mix at all. A bench spark plug and that level of money in the W is such a hard cap. Does not mix.
But you know what? I would love that. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Like $200,000 a year for me to play like 15 to 18 minutes, 40 times.
She had
a year.
11 tonight. 11 minutes tonight.
$200,000 for a part-time job, dog. Like,
hey man,
I would absolutely do that.
Hey man,
I think it's one of those, and someone in our chat mentioned like it's a Sid Colson type thing. It is because when you see them off the floor, she definitely is like a vibe. She's
the one that's like, she's
a glue type player, and so maybe not at 200. Like 200K is a lot for a vibes player, but that's as long as they're not killing each other, I guess it's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Lexi Hull because I was
please. I'm like the box scored 21 minutes, 6 points, 2 of 4, 1 of 2 from 3. Like, but that's obviously not what you're bringing Lexi Hull in for, especially when the team is scoring all around like the way they were today. You have 4 of the starters with 15 plus. Besides Christy Wallace, who had 0 points. But to your point, like that Lexi, I think they've been searching for that player next to Caitlin, who's going to be the defensive player. And I had been wanting to see more Celeste Taylor minutes just to try it out, like just to see like what that looks like. Today we get Lexi Hull, and I thought that was a fantastic showing from Lexi. You're not asking her to score, just get a bucket when it comes to you and the time and the flow of the offense, but really your job is to be on that defensive side of the ball. And I thought she was right there with the Sky guards, who are not an easy guard by any means. Like they got some buckets on that side. And I thought she did fantastic. Yeah. So I agree. I was impressed.
I agree. Like the biggest thing that I came away watching Lexi Hull today that she gives that Wallace doesn't is Wallace is a little bit of a black hole offensively. So Lexi passes within the offense. Like you saw, there were a couple different plays today where Caitlin gets it to Lexi, Lexi gets it inside. Like she's that. Lexi has been, at least in this one, like that conduit. That's just like that second pass, that third pass, that when you're giving it to Wallace or Wheeler, it's just the ball
can get stuck. Yeah.
It can get absolutely stuck in the mud. And so that's what is needed. You need more movement and motion with this Fever team. And dog, I came away awfully impressed. Like, I mean, Melissa Smith, in spite of making everyone believe that she's doing a Golden State Valkyries audition and on Twitter with everyone being like, purple is my favorite color and it ain't about the car. Like, come out here. I mean, like, look, to come out there and then just go kind of nuclear in the third quarter there was extremely impressive for her. And then, like we said, man, CCAB. I mean, that's what this team is built around, and it's here. It's here.
It's here. This is what we've been waiting for. Is exactly this. And to your point, no, really, since Melissa entered back into the starting lineup once Temi went down, it's just been a completely different energy and production level on the court. And I was really just like, I think the thing that impressed me most across this game today for the Fever was the efficiency level, like just the shot making that they had. They shot, it was what, 56% from the field, 44% from three. Like that is, and especially when you look at the starters as well. Like, and it's not like a Kelsey Mitchell or a Caitlin Clark are not prone to just getting their shots up, and it's in God's hands at that point once it's in the air, But like both those players today were incredibly efficient. Like I said, I think we could dive into more of like comparing the rookies and everything here in a second. But like, Caitlin's game was fantastic. And Aliyah, two-way Aliyah as well in the YouTube chat. Prodigal just had Aliyah 5 block shots, like 100%. Like it was there today. And the Sky are such a tough guard down low, just based on just how they crash. Like at any point you're having a combo of, obviously with no E-Will now due to injury, but you have at any point a combo of Kamilla, Angel, and Izzy, and they are all gonna crash. Like there's no possession off with any of those three, and to see how Aliyah was able to still be productive on both sides of the ball while dealing with the constant, just battle really with the Sky Bigs. So impressed. Like you can't be much happier if you're the Fever with this win. I feel like it really does. Like it feels like that. But yeah, go ahead.
To me, this is what we thought we were getting in game one. And maybe this is our fault, right? Like maybe this is our fault.
Very true.
Like maybe this is our fault in terms of what the expectation was about what this was all going to look like. Because look, we're a month into the season, 14 games in with 2 number 1 picks, 1 number 2 pick, and it's starting to gel. Like, all right, a month. Like maybe that should have been the grace period. Yeah. And this is the other thing too on Caitlin especially, right? 23, 9 and 8, 5 turnovers, which was, that's better for her.
Yeah,
it's in line with the season average. And then 2 big block shots that she had too, which I was like, wow.
That Marina one was tough.
I was unfamiliar with her name. Ugly ass block. Like, but here's the thing. This is a rookie putting up 23, 9 and 8, right? That is able to impact the game even when she's going 3 for 7 from 3. The dominance within the league that we were talking about, like, yeah, man, it might not have happened immediately, but that's a dominant stat line for a first-year player.
Absolutely.
Like that was a quiet controlling of the game, and that's what stars do. Stars do not need to be in your face to make massive game contributions. And she made a massive contribution in this game. And so maybe it wasn't going to be a walk into the league and immediately take it over type of energy. But I mean, she's walked into the league in a month in, the box scores are inconsistent and the games are inconsistent, but like we've seen a couple of games here now, whether it's that Mystics game or this Sky game, where you're like, yeah, I see it. I see exactly where the argument that this kid is going to take this all over eventually comes from. Might not be immediately, but there's glimpses in here where you're like, that's like the faith is well placed, I guess is my.
And it's interesting to like, and it's not even just glimpses, like it's actively like this game shows it, or that game shows it. And obviously, like you said, the inconsistency is still there. So that's the next step, it feels like, is just finding that consistency. And, we'll kind of have to just monitor that and see. But like, I think that the Fever now, it's not the offense that's the problem right now for the Fever. Like, just like in general, it's the defense. And it feels like the offense, they've been able to kind of find the compromise with the pace when it comes between Caitlin and Aliyah. And being able to find that, and whether it's Caitlin allowing it to come more to her, or like whatever that looks like, just being intentional with feeding the ball to Aliyah, it's allowed them both to be dominant in their own ways, where it doesn't feel like one is overbearing on the other. And that's
you see Aliyah running the floor?
Man,
you see her running the floor today?
It was incredible. It was hello, 4 verts. Come on now. That was it was genuinely like, it was this is probably the best game the Fever have played this entire season, like pretty confidently. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that both your stars got involved. And it felt like probably the most 50-50 game that they've had while both are able to produce. And that just feels massive. And it's allowed, and I can't overstate how, when these two are being successful, it helps Kelsey Mitchell. It helps Nalissa Smith. It helps Sam. Like it just opens it up for everyone. And seeing Caitlin drive the ball more as opposed to just taking the threes and living with those. Like, it's just all these little things that have felt like added up today that we had kind of been talking about at different points throughout the season. All of them kind of came together today. And it was like, oh, this is what this Fever team can be, even at this point right now in the growth of the franchise as a whole with this squad. So
Dog, I can't believe I'm saying it, but like, Sides coached a good game today.
No, I don't know what changed when they benched the starters in that game against the Sun. But really, since then, I have really enjoyed what I've been seeing. Like, really genuinely across the board with the decisions. Like, I guess, I mean, as we touched on, being able to see Lexi Hull, like, and ride Lexi Hull when she was performing as she was, like, those are the things. It doesn't feel like, it just feels like a little bit more openness to trying these new things, and you're finding success with them. And it's, I mean, I there's still a lot to go, but like I've been talking about so much, like just the idea that it feels like Spoon is the one to lead the way for this guy. Like it feels confident that like she feels like the one going forward, like the match with this roster and things like that, the direction. It hadn't felt that way with Sides. But games like this is what you got to do to make it seem like you actually have some direction with this team. And today, it felt like they had some direction and what this team can be at their best. And that's what I've been waiting to see, was a taste of what this team could be like at their best. And we got that for the first time this season today. So
I feel that.
I'm
Improvements quickly on Caitlin Clark, though, that you talked about the defensive thing that kind of jogged my head on it. She gives up on possessions.
Yep.
Like you saw it in the first half with the Dana Evans 3. Like, she kind of gets lost and then doesn't close out. She did it a little better in the fourth, where even if there was too much space between her and a shooter, like, she would at least try to go close out. But there's those like little wax and wing kind of pieces where I wonder if that's like a game shape thing, right? Because not only has Caitlin Clark been playing basketball pretty much for 9 months straight at this point, but also this is something that every player has talked about, just the shape required, like the physical shape you have to be in. And her play style at Iowa was so fast paced that there were times where she could kind of take a breather on the floor. Like, she throws it to Stolke in transition. That's 5-6 seconds where she can just kind of walk, and you don't get that in this league. So I am curious to see, because even with Aliyah Boston too, it didn't appear that Aliyah came into the season in shape. It looks like she is in substantially better playing shape now. She's not gassed in, late in quarters anymore. There's a lot more energy when she's actually got the ball in the post. And I think that's kind of Caitlin's next act, is like the physical components, getting her body right. And that's going to be an off-season thing. But getting her body right, being stronger, being a little bit quicker, but also having more stamina so you don't feel like you have to take those plays off, Other than that, man, I mean, I don't really have any notes on her this game.
Yeah,
this was a masterclass.
Yeah,
it really was.
This was I mean, I feel pretty confident in saying, like, that's off the top of my head, her best game in the W so far. Like, it just, and it's crazy because it really felt like this was like this was one of those games where it's like, if you might not even realize she has 23, or has, what was it, 9 assists, 8 rebounds. Like, you might not even realize that that's happening, and that's a good thing. Like, that is because the way that everyone else was contributing, it didn't feel like, all right, Caitlin, go save it. Because there have been times where it's like, all right, go, Caitlin, you got it, and it's whatever. Or it's Aliyah, you got it, and then it's whatever. It never felt like that at any point today, which was amazing. I do want to switch over to this guy, though, because coming into this game, that was one of the biggest things coming into this game was the starting lineup change. We had seen in the press conference in this guy's previous game, in the post game, where Teresa Weatherspoon was asked about it, about changes in the starting lineup and trying some new things. Wasn't very happy about being asked about it in the moment, but did indeed make those changes with Dana Evans and Diamond Shields moving to the bench, with Kennedy Carter and Allen moving to the starting lineup. Any general thoughts just kind of on that change, and if there was anything that you liked or disliked, that anything that moved you with it at all?
Yeah, keep Kennedy Carter as a starter. I mean, like that's the easiest thing to do. I mean, we've always known this, right? Going back to the Texas A&M days, Kennedy Carter is
tough.
A fucking bucket.
So tough. So tough. Yeah.
She is a fucking bucket. Yeah. And so the amazing thing is you didn't see any drop off playing against the starters. Now, again, this is the Fever, not the best defensive team in the league by any stretch, especially in their backcourt. But, like, dude, she made hard shots today. Like, it wasn't as though she was playing against a subpar backcourt and in doing so was just kind of eaten against mediocre matchups. Like, she was in the lane. She was hitting tough middies. Like, she knows how to score. She knows how to score. And I want to keep her in the starting lineup as much as is possible. Everything else, I think the one drawback there is that it gives you a small guard backcourt defensively, right? You've got a 5'9", 5'10" Kennedy Carter and like a 5'11" Marina Mabry, who has still not figured it out so much. I think she shot the ball a little better today, but
it was 10 of 22 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3.
No, it's still not. That's still not what you paid and what you traded everything out for. You know what I mean? So I think that it would have been nice to see her. I mean, it will be nice when she ends up getting things figured out again, but that's my only issue with that pairing is it feels like it's very vulnerable defensively, but offensively, man, the firepower is absolutely there. I just don't know if Spoon wants that though, because like Spoon's teams are defensive first teams
for sure.
And are you going to be confident giving that away on the other side of the ball if it means that you're staying in games offensively? I thought Kamilla was all right today. I think that's just the difference between a player who's been in the league and a player that hasn't, between her and Aaliyah.
Yeah.
And another double for Angel.
I mean, Angel's this month that she's been having, that's the 6th straight double. That's 11 points, 13 rebounds for her today, 4-13 from the field, 2 steals and a block. Her month has been insane with the double-doubles. Like, easily, like, we'll be rookie of the month almost certainly, or should be at least. We got a race. We got a rookie of the year.
We do. I know. I mean, like, you look at both these games today, man. I mean, it certainly is 1-2 for rookie of the year. I do think though that watching Angel today, I was like, I think I need to reevaluate what I think Angel is going to be as like a top end pro. It gives me Rodman. Like, it gives and not I don't, not Dennis Rodman for the antics. Dennis Rodman like Pistons.
No, like the nose for the rebounding, like, and like just the way she attacks
the energy that she plays defensively, like that offensive bag isn't quite there, but there's no denying what she does for you as a rebounder, as a rim protector, as an energy presence on the floor. Like, it feels very Rodman-esque to me, like Rodman at his peak. And you look at a career like that, that's a Hall of Fame career. Like, that's to me, absolutely. We've been harping on the shot efficiency from inside, which I think is reasonable. She was 4 of 10 or something today.
4-13.
Yeah, like I can understand that, and I can understand the argument that the rebound numbers will go down if you take about 4 shots and turn them into makes. But then you go from what, an 11 and 13,
right? You're 20,
like 20 and 9.
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
You look even more.
You'll live with that. Yeah, you're all right. Like,
yeah. So I think we maybe need to reevaluate what we kind of like with what we kind of are with Reese, or what we see her as. But man, I mean, she had a couple of frustration fouls today. I don't think she played as well as she could have. I don't know. I think that's the 5 you probably go with, though, if you're the Sky. I just think you need Mabry to play better. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you because, like, I mean, Mabry gets 22 points on 22 shots. Like, that's not, and to your point, like, you are sacrificing defense by making this lineup change. So you want that offensive efficiency there if you're going to do that. Like, Kennedy was 8 of 14 for 18 points. Like, she was there with it. And, like, I mean, Kennedy, the nose for having just, like, knowing when and how to get a bucket, like, anytime she gets the ball is just nuts. Which, as you said, like, we've been known. Like, this isn't anything new by any means. It's just having kind of the opportunity and the platform to do so. I will say I do think Kennedy's foul trouble. Like, she ended up with 4 fouls in this game. There were times where she had to be taken off the court. That would be the only hesitancy I have about potentially starting her. Is just the fouls, and that's like the only thing. Like, if you want, like, I would understand if you're bringing her off the bench, and even if she's playing starter minutes, just to have a little bit more control on that, because she's still got you about the same amount of points that she has been getting you off the bench. You know, like, there really wasn't a change in the production of that. So if you wanted to do that and, like, keep her off the bench, like, with that in mind, and wanted to start off more defensively, and, you know, maybe you're bringing her more in for Mabry as opposed to a Dana, I would understand that. But I do think that Kennedy needs to be playing starter minutes at minimum and having kind of starter responsibilities, even if she is back on the bench at any point throughout this season. So I think she's a starter responsibility player for this team. I don't know if the makeup of this team and what Spoon wants it to be has her in the starting lineup, but that's not for anything that's at her fault, really, as much as it is just the style that Spoon might want to play. And when you have her and Mabry next to each other, it's a lot different than either Mabry or Carter next to Dana. So that's why I'm going to be intrigued with it.
And that's the problem too, though, with, you know, the Mabry trade in the first place, is that it created all sorts of inefficiencies for this backcourt, right? I mean, you ended up with Mabry, you give away a whole bunch of stuff. I mean,
so much stuff, including cap space. Like,
well, cap space, a treasure trove of picks. And I would imagine Spoon probably isn't too psyched about just what the construction of this roster is right now. Because, again, like you said, if you try and pair Carter and Evans together, it's 5'9" and 5'6".
For sure.
Like, you're gonna get toasted on the defensive end by a backcourt that has bigger guards, and there's a lot of teams that have bigger backcourts in the league at this point. So, you know, I don't know if the roster is constructed properly to be able to be something that you want to, you think can contend, not for a championship, but contend at least for playoff spots. So it might be a little bit of a rebuild and a culture reset this year for this team, but I like the bones that they have in place. I think that this is a cool rivalry that we have now. Mean, look, this is a 1-point win for the Fever in the first one. It's an 8-point win this time around. Caitlin Clark now 2-0 against Angel Reese in the pros, and yet we're still going to get this rivalry talk. And I love that. I want that. Like, you know, frankly, like, next time they meet, I would maybe like the Sky to win one, because I want
to keep it alive. Keep it alive. Like,
yeah, exactly. Because, well, today proves, right, we do not need all the other bullshit to sell these rivalries and personalities. Like, you just need a good game. You know, more often than not, we're not tuning in for all the other shit. Like, we're not tuning in for the think pieces on Kennedy Carter, man. Like, that got exhausting after day 3. So once we actually get to a point where, all right, maybe that was the way we got in, and it sucked that we had to get in that way, but now that we're in it, it's just basketball, and good basketball at that, then this is fine. Give me more of this. Give me actual rivalry stuff now that we have made it to this point in the season. And look, Kathy Engelbert probably had to have loved that game. Like, I'm sure that she watched that and was like, this is what we want the future of the league to look like, because the energy down the stretch in Cambridge was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, there is one thing about Caitlin that I think is super unique, and it's Steph Curry-ish in that way. The sound the arena makes when she pulls up and hits a three, there's a pop. Audible
the buzz, and like there's the lead up. It's a whole like crescendo to it, like as the ball is in the air and everything. And she plays for the crowd too, similar to the way Steph does. Like as soon when that three goes in, she's turning to the crowd, like and is hyping up. Like this, I mean, there was no reason for a game on June 16th between a 4-8 and a 4-10 team to be this electric.
Yeah, it's true.
And yet here we are, you know, like, and I mean that in the most positive way. Like this doesn't happen normally. And like, this is like, and to your point, like, we don't need the other stuff. We don't need like we don't need any of that. Just, this was a fantastic game with fantastic energy, and both the teams clearly like cared, you know, and that was, you could tell the difference when the team, like, it was just different, and like really for the most part, like with both these teams, obviously, like I said, not winning records or anything, that there has been a lot of things to critique about these teams, yet both these teams, I feel like, generally played very solid games today. Obviously the Fever had a better game, but this was just good basketball, and it was incredible. Like,
I'm right with you. I mean, it's like there's one comment in the YouTube chat. It says good ball matters most. It does. Good ball matters most. And I think what's been hard with the Fever so far is that it's not just that they're losing, it's that the ball hasn't looked good.
Yeah.
And so it's been hard to advertise this league with her as the entry point, because the ball hasn't looked good in certain places. Now we're starting to get into the meat of the season. People are starting to get kind of up. Their legs are under them. They're back in playing shape for the most part. Now that we're here, I think we're going to get a lot more games like this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we even saw yesterday with Liberty, like, we're starting to get teams and players in games that we can fall behind pretty easily, that, you know, will turn this league, especially as we wrap the Stanley Cup, we wrap the NBA Finals here pretty soon. We're going into the doldrums of summer, and this is exactly, frankly, what the sports calendar needs. I know some folks might love baseball, but like, it's hard to bring the juice in baseball in the middle of July, right? Because you know you still have 4 months left in the season. You might get Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese in the middle of July. I damn well know most of us are going to be tuning in for that. So this is exactly what all of us kind of want in the sports calendar, and it's exactly what we're hoping to have. So I was really about it. I think I see one other comment here. The refs took control. I agree to a point. I think that the officiating was very much like, we're not going to let this get out of control.
21 fouls for the Sky, 17 for the Fever. Like that's pretty hefty. Yeah.
But it was also hefty. The W in WNBA does stand for whistle after all. But but I did not think it affected the game in a significant amount, right? Like, I don't think it messed up the flow. I thought it got a little choppy, probably with about 5 minutes left in the fourth, where you got those 3 travel calls back to back to back.
Yeah, those couple minutes were wicked. There was a couple minutes there where it got a little wicked.
We got in there, and I was like, this is sicko shit. Like, this is Pac-12. This is Pac-12 after dark right now. And I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing here. But no, man, this was to kind of put a bow on it. Like, this was exactly what the league wants. You know, this is what we want, right? Yeah. This is what, when we talked about what this season was going to do to bring fans into the game, this was the hope of what the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese rivalry, quotes, unquotes, whatever. This is what we wanted it to give us. Not what we got the first time through. It was this
game.
Because again, I'm sitting here talking about the game. You're sitting here talking about the game. We're not talking about that flagrant foul. Like,
no,
it was a foul. We keep it pushing. And that's, you know, people are going to engagement farm off that and probably think piece the hell out of it. But I think we learned in this past week that, you know, Caitlin Clark especially, like, this kid just wants to play basketball, dog. Like, let's let him play basketball. Let's let all of them just play basketball.
That's across the board. I'm
done with it. Like, you know, we don't need any more. Like, we've had enough think pieces for, you know, a year, a few years. I'm done. So I think we're good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, I mean that about sums it up for me with this game. This was fantastic hoops. Like just the quality, the energy, all across the board. Like this was really, really, really genuinely good basketball. Like this was a great game.
To quote the homie Kyron Samuels, real ball on our screens today.
Talk to him.
Real ball.
We do have.
You want to touch on the other two that are?
I was just about to say we do have. Let me pull those games up real quick. We do have 2 other games left on the slate today. About to tip off now. Skylar Diggins-Smith making her return to Phoenix. They decided to be messy today. And then also the Sparks at the Dream. If you want to touch the Storm and Mercury is on ABC. So if you want to just touch on that one, I mean the Storm look fantastic. Like it's like a lot of they're 9-4 right now. Some of those losses came early on in the season when NECA was kind of in and out. Mercury looked better with BG in the lineup. Still like at times, like they worry me just with the 3-point shooting, just because it's so live or die. But yeah, this should be a good one. This should be a very, very fun game, and like it's just another like this is. I'm really interested in for the Mercury. I feel like this is a really good kind of litmus test, just because the Storm feel like they're in that upper echelon right now. This feels like a game where the Mercury they can get to 500 with the win here. It'll be a really solid win against a very good team that has been on a really solid run. In Seattle, like this feels like a very solid, all right, where are we at right now type of game for Mercury at home. That's where I'm kind of at with this one.
Ezzy and BG is the matchup I'm watching in this one, just because I have said Ezzy Maglagor is making a push for Defensive Player of the Year through 1 month of the season. This is the type of game where you can establish those bona fides. Like you go up against arguably the best center in the game right now, Brittany Griner, who's just coming off a 25-point game. Yep. That's what you want. So that's what I want to see. I do love we love our drama. We love our mess getting Skylar Diggins down in Phoenix. And then that LA Atlanta game. The one thing I am watching with that game more than anything is Rickea Jackson, who I think we still, even among this rookie race, she came off the bench to start the year, and I think that's kind of stopped why we've talked about her so much. But
she's been really good. She's been really, really good. Like
she's been wonderful. She's gotten she's improved significantly game over game. She had her first double recently. I think it was like an 18 and 10 or something like that.
In that range.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see her, and then Cam Brink obviously just foul trouble. That's every game I'm watching to be like, can I get a full shift out of you for an entire game, and can Kurt Miller get the same? And if that's the case, then we'll be all right. Yeah,
I'm with it. All right, that sounds like a great place to leave it off to go tap into these games before they all tip off and everything. Like I said, Storm Mercury on ABC. So come on now. It's a nice holiday. It's a great day today. It's a good day for some hoops across the board. Thank y'all so much for tapping in. We had over, I think it was like 250 people tapping in on the live over here on YouTube. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to people on playback here as well. Like we super appreciate it. It was a big day of hoops today. And still more to come. So thank y'all so much for tapping in. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified every time we go live. We do post games all the time here on playback and YouTube. Plus the Substack as well for written content. Andrew's been cooking with the written content, both with the 5-out weekly
tomorrow, baby.
And so a new article dropping tomorrow. Plus a lot of stuff with the history of women's basketball on deck in the works. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're on the Substack. And then also just follow on Twitter so you're notified anytime something drops, anytime a video drops, anytime we go live here on YouTube. It's free for everything across the board. So make sure you're tapped in so you can come and get the best coverage of women's basketball for WNBA, college, and the history of the sport. Plus the Olympics coming up. We're going to be tapped in with that too. So make sure you're tapped in across the board. Thank y'all, and we'll see you next time.
Love your fathers.
Happy Father's Day.